For this episode, we had a conversation with Dr. Ulrich Randoll from Germany, who is the pioneer of the matrix rhythm therapy modality that is used so widely across so many countries around the world.
Yes, if you use it properly, it has no side effects. This is, I will say, a treatment. This is fitting directly to the physiology of the human body. That means when you use it properly and when you are trained how to use it, of course, also a violinist can take his violin as a hammer,
Yes.
And of course, but this is not the proper use. So if you understand the principle behind what led to the development of the machine was just the pure physiology, and the effect is to synchronize the human oscillation, and especially on the main tracer frequency, and this is the shivering.
Yes.
And it's wonderful that all warm-blooded animals, also humans of course, have the same shivering range in the body. That means that from the basic tremor, when we are excited, too much coffee, or excited or angry, we are trembling like this. And the question was, why is it just a noise, this trembling, or is there a physiological function behind? And it's even written in the literature, when you have orthostatic collapses, when it's very warm, people are collapsing and they are shivering like this, So this is a kind of rescue frequency of the body. And if it is and what happens there, it is just an activation of the lymphatic and the venous flow back to the heart. So the space in the capillary is free for the arterial side. And so this is physiology. And now I said, if nature has created such a wonderful survival technique for them to bring metabolites to the cells, to the environment of the cells, we have to just utilize it and to reproduce it. And of course, in former times, they used a kind of vibration massage technique in Ayurveda.
Yes.
But after 2 minutes, if you do it, your
hands start pain.
You're just tired, And so you can say this machine is just supporting the body vibrations.
Yes.
And it's the elongated arm of the physiotherapist. And we are always synchronizing. When I do like this, I have exactly the physiological frequency of 8 to 12 hertz applying to the resonance of the stiff body, and this is just activating the metabolism, and then of course we get the release and so on, and then we have the treatment.
Yeah. During the lecture you spoke that it's in the microsystem of the body that you find solution to the problem, and you need to see microscopically than macroscopically. But how did you yourself discover that?
Well, the question is, what is a human body? It's a cell culture.
Yes.
Everything starts from 2 cells, and then they start to proliferate. And what is the difference now between these cells? Of course, they have all a different specialization. Like in the society, the one is a surgeon, the next one is a physio, the next one is just a hand worker or whatever, So you have a specialization, but at the end, when they coming home to eat, they eat all the same: bread, butter, sugar, carbohydrates, fatty acids, and proteins. That means, how individual do you have the cells? That means the people that are specialized in different fields. And so you can say the cell in the bone is called osteocyte, or in the liver it's a hepatocyte. They have wonderful different names because they are defined according to the outcome and to the localization where they are. But from the principle of life, they need the same. Like in the garden, a tree needs the same like another flower, just water and trace elements, everything in the ground. So before starting special and thinking about special things, just start to bring the normal things to the system, and then look if it's already sufficient. And mostly it is sufficient.
Yes. So you know a lot about Ayurveda and Panchakarma. So how would you say what are the differences and what are the similarities between Panchakarma and your matrix rhythm therapy?
So from the principle, you can say these are 2 approaches. Everybody wants to heal at the end, and now the question is, what is healing? And what we see is that nowadays we come from the side of I will say, the measurable scientific side, and the others came. So we come from the evidence of measurements, and the others came from the evidence of experience.
Yes.
What is better now?
Yeah.
So I think that those that they're coming from the side of experience, they did it 1,000 years, so it couldn't be wrong. If a method is wrong, it will not survive 2 days, you know.
Yes, and it worked. That is also a thing that it's good.
Yes. And today, of course, we also want to regenerate somehow the system, and we cannot do it just by one specialized instrument. We have to go back always to the physiology.
Yes.
And I will say that in Panchakarma and Ayurveda, they stayed always with physiology, and we come more from the laboratory experiment, and we find something, and then we transfer this somehow to the biology, and mostly it does not fit. For example, when I take the interferential current, of course it does something, but how specific is it from the physiological side, or shock wave, or ultrasound? These are all frequencies, amplitudes, but how far does it harm, or how far is it a synchronizer of derailed processes to readapt them just by entrainment, as we do?
Yes.
Mostly it is just the biological system, and nothing works in resonance to the system. And only when you are in the resonance of the system, then you have no side effects.
Yes.
And of course, when you ask me now the difference between Ayurveda and my method, it is similar. Of course, when sometimes I'm in these ashrams getting Ayurveda cure, and I observe very carefully what they are doing with stamps and all these things, you know, and they try to soften the tissue somehow.
Yes.
And with heat and so on, all the things that are wonderful, but nobody uses the resonance frequency that the body shivering, because it needs power, it needs energy of the therapist. So if you add now the matrix rhythm therapy to all these Ayurveda centers, they would increase in their effectivity tremendously.
Yes.
These people always say, now you're coming again with your turbo Panchakarma method. You know? Because with the resonance, you come deep into the body immediately.
Yes.
And what I reach in, I will say, one session, they reach maybe in 1 week.
Yes.
So you can increase the effectivity, and we are working with the same principle to get the blockages and the waste products out of the body. This is the principle.
How was your experience so far here in India?
So I'm now, I think this is my 12th visit to India, not the first time. Of course, it's a different continent, you know, different culture. But there are. What is the difference, you know? At the end, you have also to pose the question: what is more convenient to life, and what is sense of life, and how reflective are you? Is it just to go quicker, faster, and wider, and that means following the capitalistic way of making money, or is it also to meditate about a sense of life? And I see that people are much aware of, I will say, meditative states, and that they integrate in their daily life, like doing yoga, meditation, and all these things. What I miss is, because also Ayurveda is an activation of the body, it is the passivation. Just lay down, do nothing, and another one is treating you, like it is done in Ayurveda. So the Ayurveda is always the preparation for movement. And
it's like a warm-up.
It's not warm-up, but it's regeneration of the cells.
Okay.
And this is what is needed more, just the passivation, and so I would rather like to make from each Ayurvedic center a huge regeneration center. When you just add modern measurement systems, so you bring the science inside a little bit for those who want to measure, because everybody asks, where is your study, where is your study? I don't believe so much to studies anymore, because I read too much, you know. You just have to feel it directly and do it, you know, and just show the result, shoot the goals, and people will come. And don't ask the scientists.
So one last message that you would like to give to Indian students that will be watching this video.
So for Indian students, they shouldn't follow the guidelines too much. They really should follow the physiology. It is important that every physio student should understand the cell biology, but not the dead state, the living state, as I mentioned in my lecture. Life is not anatomy. Anatomy is dead structure, but what is life? Life is function, process, interaction, dialogue, process management, and everybody who is living with or is dealing with living system is a process manager of cells, of human bodies, either in a company or in the body, you know. So the interaction is more important, the dialogue, exactly what we are doing now. You're posing questions, I'm giving the answer, and sometimes the answer is not understood because I have the wrong words, so you ask again, and then later you say, well, I have understood, I tried, and I get the result, so I have learned something. And this is what everybody has to do himself, also in the treatment. Never use standards, because every patient is a little bit individual. The principles you can apply are the same, because you're treating principles, but at the end you have also to motivate the patient to change the life pattern, because everybody of us is the end result of this thinking and doing, you know. And if I have a pain, I produced it. It didn't come through the window. And I always say that every patient has, or every human being when he is born or she is born, has all the symptoms and all the diseases already in the body, theoretically, but they should live that no disease comes out. That means you have to manage your body as good as you can. That means when you feel something that is hurting, immediately you have to ask, what can I do to get rid of it, you know? And so first, the physio should be a testimonial for every patient in the eating condition, in the living condition, and so on. You cannot pray to the patient what he should do if you don't do it. Not possible. You cannot drink, I will say, all these artificial liquids, you know, that is poison.
Yes.
I always recommend here in the country the coconut water. Everybody should drink every day 1-2 fresh coconut waters, because there you have everything inside, the trace elements, also some proteins, and this is the basic for every cell.
Yes.
And this is not very costly, everybody can afford it. In the opposite, when you drink these artificial liquids, you get sick from a certain moment. And so every physio should really work on his own body firstly, and stay always as a testimonial for the society.